Good morning. Let's get straight to markets.
Take a look at the impact for the indices.
Factual. Succinct. All you need to know before your trading day starts. Subscribe to our newsletter, CNBC's Daily Open.
Welcome to Beyond the Valley, a CNBC tech podcast with Arjun Karpal and Tom Chitty.
Beyond the Valley.
Where is the video gaming industry going next? Emerging technology is predicted to power up an industry that many believe has huge potential, from AR and VR headsets to AI and cloud gaming. What and how video games will be played is on the verge of a transformation.
Beyond the Valley.
So we had a week off. Would you like to tell the listeners why?
I got married.
You did.
Got the ring.
There it is.
You can see. Got married. It was amazing.
Congratulations. I mean, I've obviously already said congratulations, you know, off the pod.
Yeah.
But I just thought, put it on record.
Yeah, put it on record. Yeah, just so everyone knows you've sent your well wishes. It was great. Beautiful day. There was a horse involved.
Yes.
Yeah, I rode in on a horse.
Yeah.
Which was quite fun. What else? There was some flares. Sort of smoke.
Like football hooligan flares?
No, not like that.
No, okay.
Like colourful puffs of smoke.
Lovely.
Yeah, just very quick ones. Lots of dancing.
Yeah.
Lots of dancing. My legs were killing the next day.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Good workout.
Really good, yeah. A lot of dance, a lot of drums, a lot of drumming, a lot of band stuff.
Yeah.
Is
it a bit of a blur, or do you feel like...
No, I feel like I remember everything.
Okay, because there is that a lot... Often you get the bride and go, I think everyone else had a great time, but to be honest, I don't really remember a great deal because I was just going from one person to the next, and it's just a bit of a blur.
Yeah, I think early on in the day after we'd got married, after the ceremony, there was that sort of being dragged by everyone. Oh, well, let's have a picture and stuff like that. And we really wanted to just say hello to everyone as well. But then we also had like sort of pictures to do, but after that, I think the evening was lovely.
Then it was just like
it
party
was great.
time.
We got ready for the evening, arrived, had a big entrance, which was fun, and then that was it. Just partied with everyone, nice food, and it was good. I do most of it again.
Really?
Yeah.
What about the planning?
No.
Yeah.
What we'd do is, if we could have the party again, that's great. Maybe we'll just do another party. I think we'll do that. And we'll get someone to plan it.
Yeah, do your 10-year anniversary. Just do.
Maybe 1 year.
Oh, right.
Just
okay.
Go right in.
Okay. Well, congrats. I'm sure the emails will be flooding in from our listeners with their congratulations as well. Now, if you'd like to keep up to date on the world of tech, then the best place to start is the Beyond the Valley weekly newsletter, packed with the best international tech stories from CNBC. You can subscribe by heading to cnbc.com/Beyond the Valley. Click on the subscribe button and it will drop in your inbox every Friday. And if you want to contact Arjun and I, then email beyondthevalley@cnbc.com. We'll be reading out emails later in the show. Before we get back to our main story, we've got to hear Arjun's stat of the week, which is...
$4.3 billion, Tom.
$4.3 billion. Fantastic. Okay, back to our main story. Arjun, the gaming industry is clearly excited about embracing new cutting-edge technology. You're an avid gamer yourself. How excited are you about AR, VR headsets, AI, and cloud gaming?
I think I'm excited about all of it, actually. And I always like to say this about these technologies, if they can live up to what we've been promised as users and gamers as well. If you think about AR, augmented reality, virtual reality, there's so much promise about this whole experience, immersive experience, as if you're in the game, as if you're playing from the point of view of characters. And, virtual reality headsets, for example, have come on leaps and bounds over the last few years in terms of their capabilities, in terms of the realism of it all. What was I playing recently? I managed to test out a PlayStation VR 2 headset. We referenced it when we were talking on the Apple Vision Pro.
Yeah, there was a clip on social media, which I'm sure you can find, and us trying it on.
Absolutely, and what was really cool about that was... it really felt like you were in the game. And, you had to do a lot of hand actions in terms of climbing. You had to act like you were climbing, or if you were shooting a bow and arrow, you had to mimic that action with the controllers. And that kind of thing really added so much value to the type of game I was playing. And I think, those experiences are, whilst they're good very now, there's a lot of room for improvement. And those kind of things are very exciting, I think. Particularly on the virtual reality front, that immersive front, it feels like that is a natural step up for gaming. So yeah, all of these technologies, and we'll dig into all of them separately more, hold a lot of promise.
Okay, let's start then with the VR and the AR headsets. Two different things: virtual reality headset, augmented reality headset. As gamers, right, I imagine are just open to new technology just by the very nature of being someone who spends time immersed in gaming. So any of these emerging gaming technologies are probably going to have a receptive audience when it comes to gamers.
I suspect so, and people like to try out new things. I mean, even if you're not a gamer, I remember a few years ago now, in the earlier headsets that were being released as well from companies like Samsung, even Google Cardboard. I don't know if you remember that. It's cardboard pop-up headset where you could put a phone into.
Right.
Even these.
Yes, I do remember that.
Yeah, even those early headsets. I remember, giving it to my granddad. I was like, try this on. He'd never seen anything like it. He doesn't play games, and he's into his technology, though. He's very tech-forward granddad, but he loved it. And so I think the promise of virtual reality is not just about, it could introduce new people to gaming, not because they're into gaming, but because of all these new experiences that evolve. Imagine being able to play some of those more casual games, but in VR. So I think it's more than just about gamers as well. But I think for those who are really into gaming, you're always looking for more. You're always thinking, okay, what's going to be new with this new game? What does it bring? What promises it bring? Is it the characters? Is it the graphics? Is it the gameplay? What cool things can you do? And I think, when you introduce VR into the mix, for example, virtual reality, those experiences become a lot more interesting, where you are in control of these various things around your world, or the gaming world, as it were. I think augmented reality is an interesting one. Now, just in case our listeners don't know the difference, I mean, virtual reality is effectively those headsets where what you see is an entirely virtual world. Augmented reality often has this see-through bit where...
Like a layered, like you've got the graphics layered onto your room.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So whatever you're seeing in front of you, that those graphics, the virtual world is sort of transposed over your physical world, and that also offers interesting things you can do. You could interact with characters in front of you, or objects in front of you,
and fellow players. Because I imagine when it comes to virtual reality, you're sort of encased in your own world. Obviously, you could have someone else in a digital form playing with you, but augmented feels more sociable. You could play with someone and be able to see them and interact with them whilst you're playing.
Yeah, and that opens itself to different experiences. Maybe those more casual games, the more social games, as you mentioned, maybe that's where augmented reality has a lot more perhaps strength there, whereas virtual reality, if you are playing a game that is an invented world, you want to be in that world. That's the whole purpose of playing that game, right? You're in that world that's been created and thought about, and all of that. And so, yeah, virtual reality, I think, holds a lot of promise. I think as the technology advances, and when we talk about technology, we're talking about everything from the chips inside of it to the lenses that are being used, to the screens, everything in between as well. And I think the sort of almost holy grail of VR is a wireless VR headset, but with a really powerful ability to process graphics and run these really cool games as well. So I think that is an exciting technology. Right now, if you think about the cost, VR for gaming specifically, if you look at something like a PlayStation VR 2 headset, it's roughly the same price as buying the console. So you would have to buy the console and then buy the VR headset, which could, put a lot of people off at this point in time. So I think there's going to be, things around the price point, around the experience you get, around, of course, content is king. How many games can you play on them? What kind of games? All of these things will, I think, factor in to whether virtual reality and gaming really takes off.
VR headsets have been around for quite some time now, but yet it's sort of struggled to find where its best use case is. But we can sort of answer that now with gaming, that is where VR could really grow into a whole new market. At the moment, it feels like where else is it going to be embraced as much as it will in gaming?
Yeah, it's almost feels like an obvious one, right? Like an obvious use for VR. Let's talk about Meta for a moment, because obviously they made the big acquisition of Oculus a few years back, and Oculus was a big VR company, and Meta's releasing these headsets, Meta Quest headsets, and actually someone I know just bought a Meta Quest headset not too long ago, and they didn't really know why. It was just curiosity, and that's often how some of these new technology starts. Just curiosity, and you figure out that the sort of the uses after that. What do you like to do with it? Why have smartphones done so well? I think the applications on them. If you had a smartphone that could only call and take pictures, that's no good, right? But the fact that there's been applications developed around smartphones, mobile-only applications. You think of something like an Uber, right? That's a mobile-only application that's developed around the world of mobile. You think about social media sites like Instagram, like Snap, and all of the other ones that evolved around mobile. Applications are developed. Millions and millions of developers around the world make applications. And I think that's the point VR needs to go to, and augmented reality. It needs developers on board to figure out what they can do, make these really cool and amazing experiences that people then go, you know what, that's why I need VR. And to your point, gaming is clearly an obvious one, I think, to start with, because there would be people willing to pay for the headset and the games to do that. There's already an audience, right, who are buying whatever console they're buying. And so I think you're seeing VR develop very quickly in the gaming space.
So you think, out of what we're going to talk about in this episode, VR will be that sort of first foray where it really sort of gets into serious development and starts delivering? Yeah,
and I think the fact that there's already big game makers wanting to make games for these VR headsets is obviously good for that whole ecosystem there around VR. But it just seems like, they're not, I think, going to sell in huge numbers at this point still. Price is a consideration, the number of games available.
And where it is in its evolution, like it's still early days. It's
still early days. And so they're not going to sell in huge, but clearly there are use cases emerging for the gaming sector in VR, and that's and there are big gaming companies getting on board with it, and that's I think quite important.
Of course, we're going to have to talk about AI and gaming. We talk about AI a lot across a whole host of industries, but when it comes to gaming, what do we expect AI to be able to deliver that gaming doesn't have already?
I think AI is in the gaming space again, because we're sort of narrowly defining it. It's easier to talk about in some senses, because you think about. Let's start with ChatGPT. Let's go back to ChatGPT and what that does. Generative AI. We've spoken about this. The ability for these AI trained models to generate content, whether that be text. That's what it started with, right? You used to ask ChatGPT a prompt, and now we've got AI from OpenAI and other companies able to generate images and video.
Yeah.
Right. Now let's sort of take that further now into the gaming space. You add this kind of technology to games, there are a number of possibilities that could happen within a game. Firstly, imagine a world in which, some of the characters, what they call non-player characters. These are, you're walking around a world and there's someone who owns a shop.
The general public.
The general public.
Yeah.
Something would be a bit awkward, can't they?
Yeah.
Walking around.
Yeah. They don't speak. Where are they going?
Where are they going?
What's their story?
And also, they'll recycle the same two lines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
get out of my way.
Get off me.
Yeah. Something like that. But maybe they become less awkward.
Right.
And maybe they sort of have more to say, and they have a backstory, and because that's been able to be generated by the AI engine. Similarly, the main characters, maybe that dialogue is less rigid and there's more options in terms of the story to develop beyond just one or two, parts.
Yeah, because we've spoken about this on previous episodes, used to, play video games, no longer play video games. But from my recollection, particularly when you were sort of performing some sort of mission, you would fail first time, second time, but you start understanding, okay, what the enemy is doing and what their movements are and how to sort of counteract that. But with this AI, they're able to essentially adapt to how you're reacting.
And that's another great example where, your enemy in the game learns from,
Smart, I read a quote that says, smart enemies that evolve throughout the game.
Yeah, smart enemies. Yeah, so imagine you have to sort of go and fight an enemy, and multiple times in the game you may have to fight the same enemy, and you defeat that enemy the first time, but next time that enemy comes back stronger, but you can't do the same things you did to defeat that enemy. It's
almost like a reverse of what we have been, how we've been playing computer games, which is you're getting better because you're learning from them, but actually we could be moving into a place where they're learning from your movements and how you play the game and adapting and getting stronger.
That's right. And there have been attempts to do this in games so far, to quite a successful degree. I have seen it, and I've played games that have done that, and it's been really good, because what happens is you go fight an adversary, you end up losing, dying, whatever in the game, and you come back and that enemy has now leveled up, got stronger, and you can't just go back but it's still not. There are still ways to sort of get around it. But with AI, that could become a lot better, and that makes it much more enjoyable for you because, or maybe not.
I don't know.
Feel like a sore loser.
You feel like you're not getting anwehere in the game, or at least you're getting worse and they're getting better. That might.
I reckon when that sort of enemy comes into the games, we're going to see a spike in the number of controllers and consoles damaged.
Yes.
People just throwing them on the floor.
Yeah, insurance claims going.
But that's another one. So that smart enemy one is another one. Like I said, the personalized storylines, personalized dialogue, and finally open worlds. Now, there's games that are made these days, cost millions of dollars to create, and they make these vast open worlds, very intricately thought out, to the blades of grass, to the mountains and the shape of all of that. But what if those open worlds had generated as the game went on and adapted to what was happening? That's another possibility. Now, I'm talking here again about the AI technology having to get more advanced, being integrated into games, and of course, it not looking glitchy. You don't want to bring all this AI in and the sort of characters all of a sudden start going off script and
or don't have hands properly.
Don't have hands, or start saying offensive things. Or,
yes,
lots of different bad outcomes here.
I wanted to get into the sort of the moral implications of the AI influence in gaming. We talk about it a lot. Who owns the AI? Who's feeding it the data which it's then learning from? Who's selecting that, curating that? There are a lot of consumers when it comes to gaming that have concerns around AI and its movement into gaming. Are those legitimate?
As they should have concerns. I think lots of legitimate concerns. As I mentioned, imagine sort of the things like errors that could come in, could be offensive words said or images created, for example. Lots of different possibilities here, which is why I don't think it's something that's you're gonna see sort of widespread across the gaming industry in the next 1 or 2 years. It's going to take a lot of time to refine that. We may need a gaming specific model. Which company is going to come up with that? Who is that going to be? Or maybe some of the bigger game makers are able to create their own models. Those are things that are, again, talking about these are things that are in the future. But these are just some of the possibilities we're talking about. But there are also a ton of dangers, and we've sort of alluded to a few of them, which and I can understand the concern with a lot of gamers, and probably also from the artists within the industry. We've briefly touched on before the way that AI and art is converging, in particular in music, and how now there's AI-generated music that sounds real. And there are some in the music industry that really like it and some that hate it. And I suspect in the world of gaming, all these artists and designers and game makers will also share similar concerns that we've raised here.
Subscribe to the Squawkbox Europe Express podcast. Join Steve, Karen, and myself, Arabile, in unscripted and dynamic debate around the day's top stories with first and exclusive interviews of the best in business and global newsmakers, original points of view, and instant analysis of the latest business news and key market themes. Get set for the day ahead. Squawkbox Europe Express podcast, now available on Spotify, Apple Music, and Google Podcasts.
Let's move on to cloud gaming. Are you streaming when you're gaming? Have you downloaded the game? You're still working on the discs?
Got a disc, put it in. Problem is, when you download games, they take ages, especially like the games, the big games that I'd like to play. They get gigabytes of downloads. And, you never get the speeds that your broadband provider says you get. You know that.
We'll do a whole other episode on that.
I just find it easier. Go out, go online, whatever, buy the disc. It's there the next day. Job done. Yeah. But to be fair, I'm talking like I game every day. I haven't turned my console on
you've been busy with other things recently.
I'd like to. Soon I will. But we were shopping for sofas recently. And don't know if anyone shopped for a sofa recently, but a lot of them now, you go to the stores and they've got USBs in them, in the
sofas, in the arms,
and then cup holders and like speakers in the.
Wow.
It was a hard no, suffice it to say, for the USBs from my other half, from my better half, who wisely decided against it because
you'll just be on your phone.
Well, I'd just be. You'd just be there with whatever in the cup holder and stuff blaring out the speakers in the headrest.
It's a particular image that maybe is not, doesn't necessarily feel romantic.
No, and maybe not very homely. But we did say if we were sort of one day, won the lottery and had a huge house, then the cinema room would be more appropriate for such a sofa.
You sadly just sort of slumped and just made your way out of the shop.
That's right, and went to the the regular sofas,
and then went to the lottery tickets.
And then didn't win the scratch cards. I didn't win, but I don't know why we're talking about.
I don't know. We got very sidetracked.
It was talking about we're talking about gaming,
cloud gaming.
So
okay, let's take it back to the matter at hand. Cloud gaming discs. I mean, there's a reason why you've detailed why you still use discs. So when we talk about streaming or cloud gaming, that's a whole different ballgame in terms of internet speeds, data,
latency.
Yeah, we love that word.
Love that word.
You explain what latency is.
It's effectively the lag time between imagine you press a button on your controller and something happening on your screen, but that goes back to the internet speed and connection issue as well.
Yeah.
But effectively cloud gaming, let's just describe it as Netflix for gaming. Just as you stream a episode of something or a movie off Netflix, it's exactly what you would do with cloud gaming. But as you said, I think there's a lot of things that need to come into play, internet speeds and the technology behind that. And so, it's not taken off yet. It's not a thing that's happening in the near term. It's something that's being built up in a big way, particularly by Microsoft, which effectively lost out in the console sort of war in the latest generation in the last few years. But they believe the future could be cloud gaming. For a company to be successful in cloud gaming, as in any kind of gaming, the key is going to be the games and the intellectual property that company has, and their ability to effectively package up what will be a Netflix-style service for a monthly fee and say, hey, you can get all these games, this is how much it is a month. And it'll be interesting to see how they price that. You think about, these days, in the UK. You buy a new game, it may be £50 to £60. In the US, maybe $60, $70. And that's just one game. So it'd be interesting to see how they work out the pricing for this. And because if you've got that game as part of a package and all of a sudden the costs have come down. And
there's no delivery cost, there's no physical form of a game. And also, there's the potential for no consoles, of course, and that you're just playing through your screen, like you would watch a Netflix.
Yeah.
But my internet speeds are historically low at home, and even streaming sometimes can get a little bit glitchy. A Netflix episode. The sheer volume of data when it comes to gaming would be way beyond what I'm able to deliver at
Huge,
home.
yeah. And so one of the things the streaming services has done is that they've been able to allow you to stream stuff with lower bandwidths. And they've been working on that. Netflix spoke about it years ago and been working. So, even if you're on like a 4G connection, you could download a show. But gaming something else. The back end that these cloud gaming providers are working on, they need to figure a way to deliver these games with a lower bandwidth and internet speeds that are realistic as well. That's going to be a big challenge, I think. And then getting the pricing right and all of these other things, cloud gaming. You mentioned no consoles as well. Yeah, that's part of the promise. That imagine your Microsoft offering your whatever $99 a month streaming service for the games. You don't sell the Xbox anymore. You might, but you might not. And you sell a controller. That's it. And your controller hooks up to your TV just regularly, wirelessly. And, the streaming service is just an app. You open your app, you got your controller, that's it. So that's the thought process at the moment. Again, how that exactly plays out, I don't know. But that's the thought process right now.
Okay, we'll leave it there. One story I did want to talk to you about, which obviously you switched your phone off. You haven't been following the news, but did you see the story about the boring phone?
No, I missed that.
You missed that?
Boring phone.
If anyone didn't see, it was a flip phone with minimal features that is being called a dumb phone. Obviously, smartphones, dumb phones. It was actually a collaboration between Heineken and Bodega. And it was unveiled at Milan Design Week a few weeks ago. Obviously, it brings up this whole argument about smartphones being a sort of time and data vortex, sucking our attention away from the real world. And apparently Gen Z are very keen to, or are more keen to embrace dumb phones and are more aware of the perceived harms that a smartphone and social media that comes with it are doing to their lives. So I thought it was pretty interesting.
So this is part of that sort of broader digital detox kind of theme?
Absolutely. It's that sort of move to a heightened awareness that maybe smartphones aren't that good for us, or in some respects can be quite harmful. But, still 9 out of 10 phones are smartphones, so it still dominates the market, of course.
We should look into this a bit more, I think.
Well, yeah, and I was looking at some numbers. So Gen Z are the only generation whose time on social media has fallen since 2021, according to research company GWI, which I think is interesting. Wow. So if that continues, maybe we are looking at a world where people are turning away from social media. And we can split these things into two. One is, a move away from social media per se, and one is a move away from smartphones. I was thinking about this after reading this story on my commute in, and on my phone I listen to a podcast. I use Citymapper to find the best route to work, and of course I use my phone to pay for public transport. So, would I want to take away all of those very convenient things which make my life easier? I don't know. Social media being one thing, yeah, okay, maybe I could do less of that and that would be good for me. But getting rid of a smartphone, I don't know. What do you think?
It's tough. I do the same things. You need to pay for transport, Citymapper, Google Maps, whatever it is. You need to. You often need. You want to snap a picture. of something, you want to quickly look something up on the
Just to
internet.
be clear, that flip phone would have a basic camera.
Okay, yeah.
So
I don't want basic cameras. I want the full...
a really grainy pixelated
No, I
picture.
want the full, everything.
Yeah.
I want full everything. I want full,
Yeah.
4K video.
Yeah.
But no, I think that's... what a lot of the smartphone makers have tried to do is bring in these tools, right, to help limit your time on the phone or certain apps, and maybe that's but I mean I've never actually used them.
Yeah, I've used the grayed out screen.
Okay, yeah.
Which actually is quite effective. It
Yeah.
makes it look really unappealing.
Okay, that's good.
That's a good one.
But all those sort of where they lock you out certain, or you can choose to be locked out of certain
Time
apps
it,
and certain apps.
yeah.
That, I think I need to look a bit more into that, because that feels like a happy medium.
Yes.
Where you've created the controls, those are on. Probably get a bit of time to get used to, but it feels like a happy medium where you can keep the functionalities of the smartphones you like and you often use on a daily basis, whether it's paying for stuff or just needing a mapping app, combined with stopping yourself from being on perhaps some of those services which may be sucking your time and energy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and there's still essential services that are on the phone that we haven't even, healthcare apps, banking, education. A lot of schools are online. Food for thought. Maybe we'll do an episode on smartphones. A deeper dive, exactly. QR codes.
I
mean,
That's
what
the
if you get
thing
in a
now.
restaurant and you can't see the menu because you haven't got your smartphone? So you just go, I suppose I'll have pasta. And they're like, no, we don't do it.
It's a real issue these days.
It is. The emergence of QR codes is fascinating. Everyone thought that was just a thing that happened, and now it's really it's so popular.
Well, it came from China.
Did it? Oh, there you go.
QR codes have been a thing in China for ages, particularly for paying on WeChat or Alipay. Effectively, you'd go into a store, there'd be a QR code there, you scan it with your app, and that's it, you pay. It was all...
Well, on like a product on a shelf?
No, you'd grab your stuff.
Right.
The cashier would scan it all up.
Uh-huh.
Or on a self-scanning machine.
Right.
You press pay and there'd be just a QR code, you scan it and then you pay.
Got you.
Or, for example, I could scan your QR code to maybe send you money if we weren't connected on one of these apps. And that was the kind of de facto way to pay. They never had the whole contactless thing as we have with the phone, because they were doing mobile payments way ahead of everyone else. And so the QR code was what stuck. It was easy. You could, have a little thing, even if you were a little shop out in a village somewhere, you could have that QR code. You didn't need expensive
You didn't need like
card readers and things like that,
reader, yeah.
right? So, when I was there, living there, I thought, I don't think this will take off anywhere else. It's a very and there are other parts of Asia that I saw it in. I'd seen it in Singapore and various other places. It's never going to take off in the UK, in Europe. Now you go everywhere, and there's a QR code.
Everything.
Just for everything.
Yeah, I mean, exhibitions, if you want information, well, hit the QR code, it'll tell you, then you can... All right, well, we'll talk about... I feel like now we need to have a whole episode on QR codes. All right, before we finish, we've got to do Stat of the Week, which is...
$4.3 billion US.
$4.3 billion US. So we've talked about gaming this week. So 4.3 billion doesn't feel like that much when it comes to the gaming industry. I feel like the gaming industry is worth more than $4.3 billion. The value of... I'm just going to go with that. The value of the gaming industry in 2023.
Yeah, it's not that. I thought it was a bit easy just to do that.
Yeah.
So I've sort of gone niche because... I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
It's the value of, or the projected value of the esports market in 2024. Now, for those of our listeners who don't know esports, competitive gaming, which is probably what I would have done if I was born 3 to 5 years after I was, because gaming wasn't a viable career option at that point when I was looking at a career. But esports, and the reason I chose esports was I thought we should probably do an episode on it at some point.
Absolutely.
Because it's fascinating.
And
it's fascinating.
And I've done my cultural recommendations over the past few episodes with films and such. Gran Turismo, have you seen that?
The film?
The film.
No.
Oh.
I've played the game.
A true story about a British kid who plays Gran Turismo is unbelievable, and then gets a chance to become a professional racing car driver off the back of it.
Wow.
I won't. No spoilers just yet, but definitely well worth it. It's actually quite good. Orlando Bloom's in it. I was really surprised at how much I enjoyed it. So I highly recommend it.
Very good. So esports, that's something we'll get into.
Yes, and we'll talk more about Gran Turismo.
Yeah. We should do a whole episode while playing a game against each other. Maybe,
It could be a bit tricky when I need to read out some emails. Actually, speaking of
your emails,
we do have an email this week from Rebecca Kaplan, and I think she's emailed us in response to an episode that we did a few weeks ago about how India is challenging China as Asia's tech powerhouse. She writes, "As a Marine who knows dedication, hard work and commitment, I think India is where it's at. They are definitely not the next China. They are an India, unique, welcoming, patient, dedicated and committed to whatever they do. I've lived in India and visit often. They are crazy about Apple products, but most cannot afford. With a good bit of population expected to move into middle class, there is a huge market in India, one that would surpass China. Perhaps Apple set up several training programs, schools in India to guide on what has to be done, especially the female population. I see great things ahead," which I thought was really interesting email from Rebecca.
Yeah, interesting take. Echoes some of the topics we were talking about in that episode. Things like the growing middle class in India. Apple products are very expensive, of course, but Apple's opened physical stores in New Delhi and Mumbai, two of the biggest cities in India, where there is certainly a growing middle class and some wealthy residents too. So that sort of echoes some of that as well in terms of Apple's audience there. There is a large chance that it can grow significantly over the coming years.
And if you would like to email us, then as I said at the top of the programme, the address is beyondthevalley@cnbc.com. That's it for this episode. Before we go, please follow and subscribe to the show and rate us if you'd like. Thank you, Arjun.
Thank you, Tom.
We'll be back next week for another episode of Beyond the Valley. Goodbye.
Beyond the Valley.